Just mentioned that Manchester United have had a long-standing interest in Lewis-SKELLY. So let's cross live now to Dan Khan, who is with United. Dan, United need a left-back and a centre midfielder, so Miles Lewis-SKELLY fits the bill.
Yeah, he does, Mike. And look, we reported Manchester United's interest in Miles Lewis-SKELLY in the end of March, I should say, and he was very much on that list for potential left-backs going into the summer. However, I think the importance he had at Arsenal come the end of the season, starting that Champions League final, talking about how he had essentially trained for 6 months to be a midfielder, I think that just seemed a bit improbable. Also, when you consider the price tag and valuation, you would imagine Miles Lewis-SKELLY would be around for Manchester United. We have seen them priced out of certain moves, especially in that midfield area, the likes of Mateus Fernandes, Elliot Anderson, another example of that. For me right now, Mike, in my opinion, this would be very unlikely for Manchester United to pursue. I would also imagine, I think we've talked about Lewis Hall quite a lot on these shows, I would imagine, although it seems very unrealistic, he would probably be their #1 target. Whether they pursue him this summer or potentially next summer, I think we'll wait and find out. But I think for now, it feels very much like Miles Lewis-SKELLY seems unlikely, although he's very much someone those at Manchester United admire and are aware of.
Now, we know Marcus Rashford has joined up with the squad. What's the latest on his future?
Yeah, look, I just spent an hour or two just around the Manchester United camp, Mike, and I have to say it's very positive. And, you know, you could argue, could that have been disrupted with the story of Marcus Rashford returning to Manchester United, having not featured for the club for over 18 months, having 2 loan spells away. But look, he's been welcomed back into this squad, into this atmosphere with open arms. You know, it's very interesting. Someone like Yuri Tillmans has joined the club, who he spent 6 months with at Aston Villa. So very interesting to hear his thoughts maybe on his former teammate and now new teammate at Manchester United. Michael Carrick is another factor here, Mike. He is a manager and coach who knows Marcus Rashford incredibly well, not just as a former teammate, but as a coach on 2 different coaching staffs at the club as well. So his future right now, Mike, for Marcus Rashford, it is very much at Manchester United. I don't think at this stage, though, we can rule out an exit just yet. I would imagine maybe in that last week of the transfer window, there will be some clubs who will look at someone like Marcus Rashford, who could be incredibly useful and upgrade their left wing position. Now, whether that offer comes and something Manchester United entertain at the cost they want, I think we'll find out. But for now, to go back to your first question, I think Manchester United is still in the market. A few outgoings potentially, but still in the market, especially for a left-back. A forward at this stage, think unlikely with Marcus Rashford and Joshua Zirkzee still at the club. And a midfielder, we'll wait and find out. But for now, my bets would be on a left-back come the end of the transfer window.
Dan Khan, live from Dublin with United. Thanks, Dan. Michael, what do they do with Rashford?
They keep him and they speak to him. I'm sure Michael Carrick will, and Michael Carrick, he'll have him like a new signing because Michael Carrick's not had him yet. You know, it's not worked under previous regimes, but I'm sorry, I just look at Manchester United. I think Michael Carrick's done a great job, and he earned that. He earned the right to have that full-time head coach role. But it will be so different when Europe kicks in, when injuries pick up. Brian Burman playing twice a few days, Sesko playing twice a few days. It catches up with you. Trust me, I've seen the team I've covered over the last few seasons. Injuries catch up with you. Marcus Rashford can go back there and really show that he's still a United boy.
Do Manchester United fans have the right to be frustrated with the business in this window?
Absolutely. I think if you looked at the positivity that was around Old Trafford last season, the fact that Michael Carrick went in there, who's a fan's favourite and been through the club and worked under Sir Alex Ferguson, and it felt like he got Manchester United back on the right track to what Manchester United should be. Style of football, the positivity, the energy, they were winning games, they got back into the Champions League, which would be hugely important financially for the football club so they can start competing for the very, very best players again. And then this would have been the summer that fans would have said, right, let's put our foot on the gas. Let's go and really accelerate, bring some players in. As Michael touched upon, you know, multiple extra additional games within Europe, in the Champions League, not Europa League games, the Champions League games, you're playing the best sides in club football. This was our opportunity to put a real stamp on the window and give him the tools and the squad that he deserves to try and go and be what we need to be. And so far, they would have felt this has gone flat. That swell of positivity, that energy, that buzz, that excitement, that passion that we had, it's all going now because we're left frustrated. We know that the Marcus Rashford situation financially has obviously had a big knock-on effect as to what they can do because he commands huge wages, well over £300,000 a week. If they thought at one stage, right, we're going to get rid of that big weekly wage and we're going to get a fee from Barcelona, that is going to allow us to do X, Y and Z in the transfer window, and suddenly that doesn't happen, it feels like that may have hamstrung Manchester United. And that's where Michael's correct. He's got to say, look, this is potentially a new signing and we need Marcus Rashford to be the very best Marcus Rashford. And then, therefore, that might help us because that could be the little injection of life that we need right now.
And I don't like saying the things like a new signing, but it is for Michael Carrick, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. No, because he knows what Marcus has been through. And it's clear from the outside that he's had a bit of a turbulent time at United. Things haven't gone so well. He's gone to Barcelona and won La Liga, played at one of the greatest clubs in the world. Probably hoped and thought he'd get more time at the Nou Camp. Now he's coming back. And now Michael Carrick's job is to say, look, you're with me, you're here. I want to get the very best out of you. I want to make you the Marcus Rashford that the fans
still part of England.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it'd be fascinating to see how that plays out. It doesn't look like he's going to be leaving Old Trafford, so he's going to have to knuckle down and be the very best version of himself.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford, a name that no doubt we're going to talk a lot about in this window. And also...
Man U are not ruling out their move for Morgan Gibbs-White.
OK.
So 15 Premier League goals last season. He just signed a new contract with Forest last year until 2028.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a good move or a bad move? Cash or trash? I'm going to put that down for now. Do you want
I'll
this?
go cash.
Give that to Jeff.
I'll go cash for that. I think it could work. They need somehow, if Bruno Fernandes ever gets injured or suspended, hopefully that doesn't happen. He can play on the right and the left. Also, he's got that captaincy about him as well in terms of that leadership and playing in big moments. Granted, it's for Forest, but he's played in Europe as well. So, yeah, I'll go cash for this. I can see why it would work for Man United.
I'm going cash as well, and for reasons I didn't really want to. We had a chat last week, talk about giving somebody a do-over, and I was saying I so wish that Mason Mount had not had the injuries he'd had. And there was a lot of talk, literally, about this was the season and Michael Carrick had rejected any interest in him because there's a real player in there. And then injured again.
Yeah.
I desperately hope, if that is either a nudge to Michael Carrick that he can't, unfortunately, and Mason Mount can't rely on his body, then I think Gibbs-White would be a very good buy.
So,
yep,
do you
for me.
cash?
Yeah.
Get to use it.
Oh, my God.
Specifically, Jed Spence. Michael, what's the latest on his future?
Yeah, I think this week talks will intensify between Tottenham Hotspur and Inter Milan over the sale of Jed Spence. There are reports suggesting that Spence would be keen on the move. So this is one that could develop over the next few days, given his holiday is finished. And the talk has been around €30 million.
I don't get it. This is one of England's best players at the World Cup. Why on earth are Spurs letting him go?
Well, I mean, firstly, he has come off the back, as you say, of a very good World Cup, and I think he would see himself now as a regular starter. And I don't think Roberto De Zerbi sees him as a regular starter. I think the first choice left back will be Destiny Udogie, but he has a number of injury issues.
Gets injured.
On the right hand side, Pedro Porro, touch wood, rarely gets injured.
You're right there.
No, it's the only bit of wood I could see. And then you've got Andrew Robertson as well on the left-hand side. Ben Davis, potentially. Sousa, the Brazilian. That's 4 left-backs I've given you there. So we'll wait and see. And I think Archie Gray could probably play on the right as a right-back. And let's see if maybe Spurs will look to maybe bring in another full-back.
But isn't Spence better than all of those?
I think in terms of his style of play, maybe Roberto De Zerbi thinks that he can afford to let him move on. So I think this is very much a wait and see. I mean, I know it's raised some eyebrows with the Spurs supporters.
I was going to ask, how are they taking this?
It's raised eyebrows. But I think what's raised eyebrows more is the reported fee. However, what I would say is, if this was an English club in for him, I think the bid would be significantly higher.
What about Christian Romero? What's the latest on him, Mark?
It feels like this is a transfer that's been in the making for some time. We've been talking about Romero potentially leaving North London for some windows now. What we know is that they are currently in talks with into Atletico Madrid. Sorry, we understand on the fixed fee there is a £5 million gap in valuation. So they are still really close to getting this one agreed. However, the add-ons are still being discussed and finalised at the moment. The key thing to make this deal happen, the 26-year-old wants Atletico Madrid. This is the club he wants, this is the opportunity he desires. And when you look at the market that exists for centre-backs at the moment and the fact that Spurs are quite stacked with players, they have a number of options there, they have strength in depth, and that the player potentially wants to leave, it feels like this is a deal that's going to happen. Is it the right deal for the club financially? Spurs fans would say, actually, that's a really cheap deal. You know, we shouldn't be letting our captain go for that type of money. However, we understand this is a move that he wants to make happen. Would that be fair to say? You understand the Spurs fans. It feels like a cheap deal for a 26-year-old international who's a captain of a Premier League side.
I go back to it again. It's Europe and what they have in terms of finances. If it was Manchester United coming in for Christian Romero, I think you'd be talking 60, 70 million. You know, we heard there was talk that Arsenal would be interested in him. I mean, it got more chance of me playing for Arsenal. I mean,
Would you play for Arsenal?
Yeah, of course. No, but I think there's what Roberto De Zerbi has said consistently over the summer is he doesn't want anyone at the football club who doesn't want to be there anymore. And he's been quite open with that. But when it comes to, we told you at the start of the summer that Lucas Bergvall wanted to move on because he was probably concerned about the midfield players coming in, Nottingham Forest, interested around 50 million. That's gone quiet because Roberto De Zerbi's been playing him. And he's consistently said, Roberto De Zerbi, I only want players who want to play for this big football club. He's brought in Jan-Paul van Hecke, who he absolutely loves, Marcos Senesi from Bournemouth. Mickey van der Ven has signed a new contract yesterday. A few months ago, people were telling me van der Ven's off. And, well, no, he's just signed a new long-term contract. So something's got to give. And I feel, on a personal level, I feel given what over the last year, he's been very openly critical about the board, which you should never really do. He's done that on his Instagram account. I personally feel that this probably is the right time in the...
Right, I want to pick up on Paulinho, actually. Would he be a good fit at Villa?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd have been a good fit at Newcastle as well, to be honest with you, because they need a bit of experience in there, some bite. I think he had the most tackles in the last few years as a Fulham player and the most tackles at Tottenham Hotspur last year. Look, he's not for every game, from what I saw of him last season, but goodness me, did he score some key goals at key times, including the last goal to keep Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League against Everton. I remember saying to Roberto De Zerbi a week before that, would you like to keep João Paulinho? And his reply to me was 100%.
Well, clearly not.
Well, but Spurs went on to sign Sandro Tonali and Matheus Fernandes, and he wants to keep Lucas Bergvall, Pape Sarr still there. So I think that they're the reasons why. But he's so highly regarded, João Paulinho, and for me, he'd be a good fit at most Premier League sides because what he brings, as I say, not every game, but he's a real warrior in that midfield.
We will talk more Spurs in a bit. Mark, let's go back to Liverpool and Barcola. Do they need him plus others?
You speak to Liverpool fans and they will say, what's going on? We need to give Andoni Raiola the right tools to go and be the Liverpool we want to be. And they'll say it's probably been a disappointing window so far. Obviously, need to replace Mo Salah. They need to bring in attack-minded players. They've got a few problems defensively with injuries. This hasn't quite been the summer they anticipated and expected. What we do know is that there is still dialogue between PSG and Liverpool. It's been positive, but there is a huge gap in the valuation of Bradley Barcola, and that's a problem. There's no point Liverpool making an offer which may be 30 or 40 million euros shy of what PSG want, because they know the answer to the question. It's going to get rejected. So they have to find some common ground and get to a point where they say, right, OK, we're kind of there. What about if we were to offer this? And then the conversation starts. But at the moment, there's still 3 weeks to go. So everyone can sit back and play poker and wait for the first move of the other side. Obviously, big game for PSG, big game for Aston Villa tomorrow night. You know, that's probably going to be a big indicator as to Bradley Barcola's future. Does he start the game? Is he on the bench? Is he unused? And if you see what happens there, that might be an indicator. Luis Enrique say, no, he's in my starting 11. If you want him, you're going to have to pay for him. He's a key player at PSG. He's just won the Champions League back-to-back. So I think the next 48 hours will be interesting to see what happens. But we know that Liverpool are still keen, but it's going to be about the money.
Mark, you know Andoni Iraola as well as anybody. Will he be bashing down the hierarchy door going, I don't care you spent £500 million last summer. These players aren't the ones I need to play the way I want to play?
No, he's not quite like that. He's quite a mild-mannered, quiet head coach.
That's why I'm not a manager. I'm not like that.
He has
his moments, though.
He does. No, but they all do.
Yeah.
He will be very like, this is what we need. But ultimately, whenever you speak to Andoni Iraola, he says, being a transfer recruitment specialist is not my job. You know, I leave that to the people that know what they're doing. He knows Richard Hughes. He worked with them for 2 years at Bournemouth. So they have a relationship. They have a pre-existing relationship. So there is that awareness of how each other operates. But of course, he'll be saying, look, you know, if you want me to go and deliver all the things that the Liverpool fans and you want me to...
And why you signed him in the first place, why you brought him in...
You need to give me the tools to do that. And the way that Andoni plays, he needs his wingers. He needs strength in depth in that position. Most games, you'd probably see at least 4 wingers involved for Liverpool matches because he will often change the wingers at 60, 70 minutes. Fresh energy because of the intensity that he likes to play with. So therefore, wingers are going to be key. And it feels like Liverpool need a marquee signing this summer. They haven't got it yet. It could be that man, but at the minute, it doesn't feel like it's close.
Michael, I said this about Manchester United. I'm going to say it about Liverpool. Should the fans be worried at this stage of the window?
I think every fan of every club will be worried in the Premier League, bar Arsenal, as it stands at the moment. So I think we've got a really busy next few weeks coming up. And is that me sitting on the fence? You betcha.
And on that note, loads more to come on the Transfer Show.